Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, dear brothers and sisters, for joining us. Azam Allah lakum al-aj. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your grief and sorrow. You guys are watching Muharram Q&A, broadcasting from Wilayah TV station. With me today is my brother Sheikh Mohammad. Sheikhna, assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Sheikhna, for coming.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you so very much for having me, and I would like to send my condolences to you, to the people working to make this possible, and to our viewers.
Thank you very much, Sheikhna. Azam Allah lakum al-ajr as well. Sheikhna, I want to ask something about al-Bara'a, the importance of Bara'a, especially in the Imam Hussein alayhi salam movement. Bara'a, which means ablution or to declare someone, and of course la'an, which is to curse someone, and we have that a lot. For example, ziyarat Ashura,
yes,
and ziyarat al-Nahiyah, where Imam al-Mahdi ajallahu ta'ala farajul sharif curses everyone, single killer of Imam Hussein alayhi salam.
yes.
I feel like there's a big connection between Imam Hussein alayhi salam and this concept.
Yes.
First of all, if you could please explain what is al-Bara'a, and if you could continue. Thank you very much.
Well, al-Bara'a is a term in our religion. So if we would like to step into the concept of that, we have to explain a little bit about that term, what that means. Well, the meaning of Bara'a is something absolutely opposite of al-Wilayah. Wilayah means when you love Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam and you follow them. It means you are waliyun lahum. It means you are a follower of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Bara'a is the meaning which is the opposite side. When you, in your heart, you refuse to accept somebody, to obey somebody, you refuse to obey their commands or to be with them, right? So you stay on the other side of the battlefield, right? If it's going to be a battle, you stay in the side of your wali, your imam, and against the person that you are showing this kind of hatred against. So what is Bara'a is a notion in our religion which has been talked about so much next to the Wilayah, next to following Ahlul Bayt, next to having and accepting Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam as leaders and as imams and following their commands. Now this fact of being next to that shows us the importance, shows us the significance that this Bara'a has. How important is it? For instance, Imam Sadiq salawatullah alayhi declares that كَذَبَ مَنْ زَعَمَ أَنَّهُ مِنْ وَلِيِّنَا وَلَمْ يَتَبَرَّأْ مِنْ عَدُوِّنَا. Means those who think that they are following us, and they, in their hearts, they do not refuse our enemies. Those have misunderstood. Those people only think that they are following us, but they are not in reality. So, you know, when we want to picture this, a believer has two wings to fly by. So if you want to go to higher places in terms of serving God and worshiping God, if you want to be a very good believer, you need to have two wings. One of them is al-Wilayah, following Ahlul Bayt, loving Ahlul Bayt first, which is the root of following them. And then al-Bara'a, means refusing their enemies, being hostile to the enemies, hostile in heart and in action.
In summary, our swords are with Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and our swords are on their enemies.
Yes, against the enemies, yes. So in your heart first, the root is in your heart. You should be friendly to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam and hostile to the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. And in terms of action, it shows itself how much you love them and how much you hate the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. Where do we find this notion? We find this a lot. First said by God in Quran, and also in the narrations of Ahlul Bayt, we find numerous accounts that talk about the importance of this concept in religion. It is something natural. You know, as we talked about before, if somebody comes and does something unjust and oppressive to me, or somebody that I love, I start to refuse them in my heart. I start to hate them, dislike them, yes?
Become an enemy.
It becomes an enemy of me. God says in Quran that الَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَعَلَيْهِ لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ فَعَلَيْهِمْ لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ وَعَدَّ لَهُمْ عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا. God first, before anybody else, tells us that those who not kill, not to do these severe actions, no, those who harass them, make them bothered and irritated, those who harass Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, give them a hard time, God says that I curse them. And I have prepared a very painful punishment for them.
So that's the first example of al-Bara'a in the Holy Quran.
Yes.
Brother, I have to cut you short there. Brothers and sisters, we have to take a short break. Please stay tuned in on Muharram Q&A broadcasting from Wilayah TV, where inshallah ta'ala we'll continue answering this question. Thank you very much for tuning in.
This is Karbala, a land that has witnessed the tears of the prophets from the first till the last. But no matter how much this land has been mourned, it could still not prepare itself for that afternoon. Karbala had known why it had been glorified by the God's noble subjects, but it could never encompass such a day in its wildest imaginations. The only narration this land could do of the event was shedding tears of blood, for it did not have the words to speak. Imam Zainul Abidin and Lady Zainab were the only ones who could tell of the moments Hussein was drawing his last breath, for there was no pen or no term that could change those moments into sentences. Imam had to do it himself with the help of God and uttered, أم حسبت أن أصحاب الكهف كانوا من آياتنا عجبا. Recite the book of God from your severed throat, my Lord, and let these people know that their captives are not outsiders, but they are the household of the bearer of Quran. Show them proof of your miraculous existence, and let them see how this head has been severed so that the Quran, Islam, and the religion of God can endure. Recite Quran, for you are the audible book of Allah, and let it be heard from here to Damascus, and from Damascus to the rest of the world, that you are the essence of Quran. O my Mawla, we are all with you every step of the way.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters. I hope you guys are fine, and thank you for joining us again and tuning back into the answer of the question that we have placed for the Sheikh Mohammad to answer. Actually, it is about the connection of al-Bara'a with Imam Hussein alayhi salam. First part, we talked about the meaning of al-Bara'a and the examples of it in the Holy Quran. Now, Sheikhna, I want you to go ahead and start off with the connection it has with Imam Hussein alayhi salam before our time finishes.
Yes. So previously we talked about the importance of Wilayah and Bara'a both together. So one of them cannot mean anything if the other is not present. Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam talked so much about the fact that if you do not refuse our enemies, if you are not enemy towards the people who have killed us, who have harassed and bothered us, then you cannot be our friend. And also if, Bara'a without Wilayah doesn't mean anything. If you are hostile towards the enemies of Ahlul Bayt, but when it comes to Ahlul Bayt, you do not have any love. It doesn't mean anything. So both of them together mean, and both of them together are accepted. Imam Sadiq salawatullah alayhi says that Wilayah is only accepted when Bara'a comes in. It means the following Ahlul Bayt and love of Ahlul Bayt, God accepts it when you show that
it cannot happen as well without the without the Bara'a. For example, we first of all state La ilaha, but then after that we state Allah.
Yes. So these two are very important. Now, specifically about Sayyid al-Shuhada salawatullah alayhi. Why is it important? Because going to the holy texts, studying them, for instance, the ziyarah that we have, those texts that we read when we go on a pilgrimage to the shrines of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, shrine of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam. We find in those texts, which are very teaching texts about our religion, especially about Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, one of the best grounds for Ahlul Bayt to teach us about the knowledge of religion is ziyarah. So in those texts, we find that this notion of Bara'a is so much emphasized when the talk of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is brought up. For example, Ziyaratul Ashura, or any other ziyarah talking about Imam Hussein.
Yes. Warith, and so on and so on.
Why? Because especially Imam Hussein salawatullah alayhi showed us the dark face of the enemies of Rasulullah, of the enemies of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and the enemies of the religion. He kind of put the curtain behind the cover.
Put the lights on them?
Yes, put the light on them, and showed other people the dark and corrupt face of the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. Imam Hussein sallallahu alayhi showed us very clearly, very well. Other Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam also did this. But the movement of Imam Hussein was so verifying, so clearing. So when the speak comes to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, especially the nation of Rasulullah in that time, after what was done in Karbala, and the remaining family of Ahlul Bayt, they were brought to Sham.
The caravan.
Yes, the caravan of Imam Hussein salawatullah alayhi. Those people who thought Imam Hussein was not of importance, those people who obeyed Yazid and they lived by the corruption that was spread that time, they cried so much after the narration of Imam Sajjad salawatullah or Zainab al-Kubra salawatullah alayha about what happened, about who Imam Hussein salawatullah alayhi was. Those cried so much and repented. So many people asked for forgiveness. They understood. Because those people who usurped the succession of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were sitting on the throne. They were
corrupt. They were making.
Yes.
They were making them like sheep in their own, for their own good, for their own worldly desires.
And they showed themselves, for example, for instance, Muawiyah la'natullah alayh. They showed themselves, in terms of appearance, somebody that was kind of worthy. For example, Muawiyah went to the prayers, said the prayers. For example, fasted. Talked about religious important factors, different things. Apparently they wanted to cover themselves, to cover their dark face and the corruption that they had. But Sayyid al-Shuhada salawatullah alayhi just put aside these covers and showed the other people what they really were. And this movement of Sayyid al-Shuhada salawatullah alayhi was leading to the movement and the actions of Imam Sajjad salawatullah alayhi, after that Imam Baqir salawatullah alayhi, to the actually opportunity. It made an opportunity for Ahlul Bayt to deliver these teachings for us. If Sayyid al-Shuhada salawatullah alayhi did not do this, then the religion would have died. No, you could not bring it back. But with the blood of Sayyid al-Shuhada salawatullah, it was alive again. It could breathe again. It could come to the other generations after Imam Hussein salawatullah. And you cannot know about religion, you cannot have a true
understanding of religion,
understanding if you do not know who are the enemies, if you do not know who acted against Ahlul Bayt.
Very nicely put, Sheikhna. Thank you very much.
So very much.
Unfortunately, our time has finished. Dear brothers and sisters, we have finished. You guys were watching Muharram Q&A, broadcasting from Wilayah TV. Please, any questions that you guys have, you could go ahead and send them to the links below for our Twitter account and our WhatsApp account. Thank you very much for watching us and joining us today. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation and benefited a lot from it, as have I. And from now until another show, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept your sorrow and grief for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And we ask you to please keep us in your prayers. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.